Hey, what's up guys? The gang is back. Before we actually get into this video, if you guys do enjoy this content, even just a little bit, and are somewhat interested in watching my videos in the future, please consider liking this video, also subscribing and turning on the post bell notifications. It helps me out a lot, way more than you guys know, and it's completely free and it only takes you guys a couple of seconds. That way you guys get updated every time I drop a video. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about that, but let's go ahead and hop into the rest of the video, guys. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how to boost your attack and DPS overall. We're going to be covering, elemental mastery, artifacts, weapons, food, potions, everything that you need to know about how to maximize your DPS in general. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So guys, the first thing I want to be talking about is weapons. And the reason why I'm going to be talking about weapons first off is because early on in the game, something a lot of people tend to do is just go with the weapon with the highest attack. But that's not entirely what you're going to be going for. So let's take this weapon for example, the sacrificial sword. Okay, energy recharge as a side stat. And after damaging an opponent with an elemental skill, the skill has a 50% chance to end its own cooldown. This can occur every 26 seconds. Now, while this seems pretty nice, you probably aren't going to want to put this on somebody like Kaching when you're using her as a main damage dealer. That's why we have the black sword on her, because it gives her a 25% crit rate and increases damage dealt by normal and charge attacks by 20%. So, and she can also heal herself a little bit. So this is a way better weapon on Kaching than the sacrificial sword is, or something like Festering Desire, because they both factor in energy recharge, and she doesn't really use that as a main DPS at all. So just keep in mind, like when you look at a sword, make sure that it applies to that character. So for instance, sacrificial sword is going on Bennett because he's a somewhat like decent support. If you want like a DPS, you can go with something like the flute, right? Or something like the black sword, or even Lion's Roar. Any of those are like main DPS weapons. But also be careful because you have to read into them. This one only affects enemies who are affected by Pyro or Electro. So I can't put this on Xingqiu and expect it to do anything just because it only affects, Pyro and Electro. So keep that in mind. So just be careful when you're choosing out a weapon for your character. Sometimes you might even have to choose a 3-star weapon before you go up to 4-star if you're at a lower level. Just because, it doesn't apply to the character as much. The next thing I'm going to be talking about is artifacts. And this is a very big one, if you don't already know. Like, this is a game changer. For instance, last week, my Kaching was putting out, 1 to 2k damage per hit. Diluc is doing like anywhere from 6k to 17k I've seen per hit. And there's two reasons why. The first one being artifacts and the second one being elemental reactions. First thing I'm going to be taking a look at is artifacts. So they're all gold. They're all 5 stars, right? And I encourage you, save your fragile resin until your AR 45. The reason why is because you're going to be getting a 5-star every single drop, and that's just way better instead of wasting your fragile resin and then only getting a 5-star every, who knows, 2-3 drops. It's randomized. It's all pure luck. So not only that, do you want to have good 5-star artifacts, make sure that they have good substats too. As you guys can see, we have crit damage, crit rate. So guys, as a general rule of thumb, you want to keep a 1 to 2 crit rate ratio, and I'll show you what that looks like. So right here we have a 61.4% crit rate with a 121.5% crit damage. That's pretty much what you're going to be looking at. Obviously, you want to keep this above 50% if possible, and then you want this to be a lot higher, so maybe like 150%. That's like really ideal, like really nice. But for a general rule, 1 to 2 is always super viable. So if you can always do 1 to 2, then go for that. Make sure your artifacts do have good substacks. So crit rate, crit damage. Now this does vary depending on what character you're running as to what side stats are better. But for a general rule, crit rate and crit damage are going to be what you're going for. Something else is for the goblet. As you can see, we have a pyro damage bonus on Diluc because he deals pyro damage, right? Right. It's pretty basic, but this is something that I was missing out on because I would just slap something like this because I would be like, wow, I'm getting this extra attack. And all I cared about was this one right here. All I cared about was that big number. And sure, I had like 2,000 attack at like AR, 30, 40-ish. I mean, 35-ish. But I wasn't getting any good. I wasn't like clearing through enemies that quick because it's not all about that. It's not all about just attack, because that's what I used to think, and I messed up a lot along the way, just trying to get as much attack as I could on my characters. I feel weird about set bonuses because they are important, but if you're sacrificing a lot of good artifacts just to get a set bonus, then it's not worth it. So let's say this is the artifact. Let's say you're going for the Noblesse Oblique set bonus. You want this set bonus on your main DPS for whatever reason, but these side stats suck. That might not be a good idea. You might want to be going for something, you know, with better side stats to get extra damage in than just going for the 2-piece set bonus or the 4-piece set bonus. It's just not always smart just to go with the set bonus just because it's, you know, there. You don't have to upgrade anything to get those. They're just automatically there. But do keep in mind that if your artifacts suck, you're probably not going to be putting as much damage out just for the extra set bonus. Now, constellations are obviously important for every character, but for every character it's different. Obviously, the more you have, the more OP you're gonna be. So, for instance, my Diluc has 0 constellation, my main DPS. Xiangyang, max constellation. He'd be broken if I made him my main DPS right now, but due to levels and, you know, talent books and stuff, we're not going to do that right now. And besides, I love Diluc way more, if I'm being honest. Talents, obviously, you want to get these up. This goes without saying. They're just going to boost all of your damage. Mine are not maxed right now because I was focusing on Keqing. I talked about this last video, but you definitely want to get those up as fast as possible because they're a huge game changer. So guys, next thing I'm going to be moving on to is food, and this is very important too. It's not essential to make your character cracked at all, but if you do need to get some extra damage in, maybe for a domain or a boss you're having a hard time with, or maybe you just doing like a quest or something, I don't know, whatever the case is, the food is very important, and it can help you out with a lot more than just attack, but for the purpose of this video, we're just going to be covering the attack-based ones, and what I think is best. So, Jade Parcels is a very good option. It increases your attack by 224 to 320, and crit rate by 6 to 10%. So you're getting extra attack, and you're getting extra crit rate for 300 seconds. And there is a dish that actually tops that, though, in my opinion. This is the Adeptus Temptation. Obviously, it's the same concept. It's basically the same dish. It's just better, and it's a 5-star. And it's also free. So if you can go out and get these materials, which for some reason I haven't, and I don't know why. If you can actually go out and get those materials, which I'm doing right now, you can craft this, and you can take it in a domain or a spiral abyss or a dungeon or something and amplify your damage even more. So keep the foods in mind. You can go through and look at all of them. I'm not going to be covering all of them, but physical damage, that's amazing for someone like, you know, Razor, who does mostly physical damage. If you're using somebody like Fischl as a main DPS, amazing. You have to look through these, and you have to, you know, consider which ones are the best for your character and who you're playing as. So guys, for potions, it's very similar. It's very similar as far as the damage goes. So for Diluc, we're going to have to get as many of these as possible. The reason why is because they increase all party members' pyro damage by 25% for 300 seconds. And because we're using him as a pyro damage dealer rather than physical damage, this is very big for him. Even if you're just running, you know, Sucrose as support, this can help you out a lot with your E ability and your Q ability, and things like, you know, Spiral Abyss and stuff. Just keep these in mind because these are always here, and they're actually not that hard to farm. You can just look up frog locations and you can get frogs, because that's probably the hardest thing to find for some of these, like these ones where you have to find frogs. They're pretty difficult to find, or at least for me, but you can just Google that on the interactive map and you can create these, or you can craft them, I mean, and you know, you can take them out and do a whole bunch of damage. Guys, a last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap up this video is going to be elemental reactions, and I'm not going to be going into all of them in depth. You can search them up if you'd like, because this video would be, you know, freaking 30 minutes long, and honestly, nobody has time for that. You want to look up the elemental reactions and learn them. So, for instance, Hydro plus Electro is going to be Electro Charge, and you're going to be dealing damage to enemies over time, which is one of the strongest elements for Keqing. So her and Xingqiu are like the best combo together. Also, if you're using a physical damage dealer like Fischl, or, you know, do I have Razor or something, what you can do is you can create Superconduct by using Cryo, so with somebody like Xiangyang with Electro, and then you can weaken their resistance, and you can basically do a lot more physical damage to them in general. But so like for me, when I'm using Diluc, I'm going to be using my E with Xiangyang to apply them with the Cryo effect, and then Diluc because it amplifies his damage by 200%, I believe. It's ridiculous. He goes from like 6k crits to like 12k crits. It's crazy. Just please learn your elemental reactions. It'll change your game forever. I promise you, you will not regret it. And learn how to swap between party members as well, because for a long time I just, you know, wanted to use oh, just Kaching, I would just use, you know, I would pop Ching, choose E, and then use Kaching, and then just keep using Kaching. But sometimes you have to swap between all your different party members. I mean, think about it. If I'm just using these two the whole time, I'm missing out on Swirl. I'm missing out on Bennett's healing. Actually, both of their healing, to be fair. But we're missing out on this whole side of the team, and there's really no point in them being in there if I'm not going to use them. If I'm only going to use them for heals, you know what I mean? So just keep that in mind, because it can really help boost your damage. But yeah, that's about it for the elemental reaction side of things. Anyways, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's video. If you did enjoy, please obviously let me know by liking, commenting what your thoughts were, if I missed anything, if I got anything wrong. Just let me know down in the comment section. I'd love to discuss it with you guys. I reply to just about every comment that is laid on all my videos. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.